The cell door hissed open before I even opened my eyes, and I knew something was wrong, because guards never came at this hour, unless someone was about to die. I stayed still on the cold floor. 3 years in the prison block of Cressor Station had taught me that moving fast only wastes energy you might need later. Footsteps stopped outside my cage, then a voice, calm and sharp, cut through the dark. "Stand up, human." I opened my eyes. Guards in gray armor stood at my door, weapons ready but lowered. Behind them stood someone who did not belong in a place like this. Violet skin, dark eyes with a faint golden ring around them, the mark of Vashkar nobility. Robes so fine they looked out of place against the rusted bars of my cell. I recognized her instantly, even after years of isolation. Everyone on this station knew her face. Naya Van, the last heir of House Van, the woman half the coalition wanted protected, and the other half wanted gone. She studied me the way someone studies a weapon before deciding whether to pick it up. "You were a soldier," she said. It was not a question. I did not answer right away. My throat felt rusty from disuse. "3rd Infantry," she continued, "convicted for refusing to leave wounded soldiers behind during the retreat at Threll. The officer who sentenced you was executed for treason 6 months later. Your conviction still stands only because no one has bothered to erase it." I finally found my voice. "And why does that matter to you?" "Because I need someone to guard me," she said, "and I cannot trust anyone with a name, a family, or a reputation. All 3 can be bought. You have none of those things left. You want someone with nothing to lose. I want someone who has already lost everything and still chooses to stand," she said. "That tells me more than any medal ever could." She turned to the guard captain beside her and ordered my release. Full pardon, filed under her family seal. The captain did not argue. Nobody argues with a Van. The cuffs on my wrists opened for the first time in 3 years, and my hands shook, not from fear, but from forgetting what freedom felt like. I asked her the only question that mattered. Why me, out of every trained guard on this station? "Because everyone who wants me dead expects me to hire the best," she answered. "The most decorated, the most expensive. They will never expect a forgotten prisoner." By the time we reached her private quarters in the upper level of the station, I understood exactly how much danger she was in. 3 rival houses wanted her gone before the coalition vote in 6 days. If she died before then, her family's holdings along the Threll corridor would be divided among the highest bidders. Her personal guards had resigned within the last month. 2 of her advisors had died from illnesses that came far too conveniently. Station security answered to a house that stood to gain the most from her death. She had no one left to trust, so she had gone looking in the one place no enemy would think to search. "They will come tonight," she said, standing near the window, watching the artificial lights of the station glow outside. "They always move at night. Fewer witnesses. Easier to disappear." "How many?" I asked. "I am not certain. My last guard mentioned chatter about 3 separate contracts from 3 different houses, each unaware of the others, all wanting the same outcome. 3 trained killers. 1 human with no armor and no weapon of his own. Not yet." "I need equipment," I said. She pointed to a case resting against the wall. Inside were a standard sidearm, a short blade, and a set of thermal optics. Military grade, not station junk. "I requested this before I even reached your cell," she said. "I was fairly confident you would agree to help me." "Confident or desperate?" I asked. "Both," she admitted, and for the first time, her calm expression cracked just slightly, showing something honest underneath it. I spent the rest of the evening walking through her quarters, the way I used to walk a perimeter back when I served. I checked every entry point, every sight line, every maintenance shaft. I found 1 vent large enough for a small intruder, or a drone to slip through, right above her bedroom wall. She watched me work without asking questions, which told me she had done this before, or that she trusted me faster than she should have. Maybe both were true. "You do not have to sit outside my door all night," she said as midnight approached. "I have alarms, sensors. Sensors can be tricked," I told her. "I cannot be." She almost smiled at that. Almost. "Get some rest," I said. "I will wake you if the night decides to get loud." She did not sleep. I could tell by her breathing, too steady, too careful, the breathing of someone pretending for my benefit. I let her pretend. Some kindnesses cost nothing to give. The first attempt came through the maintenance shaft in the middle of the night. I heard the vent shift slightly before it happened, a change in air pressure that most people would never notice, but 3 years of learning to hear a cell door before it opened had trained my ears well. I was already moving when a figure dropped from the ceiling, dressed in black, moving fast and silent. I stepped inside the attack, instead of away from it, caught the wrist before the strike landed, and used the intruder's own speed against them. It ended quickly, quietly, without a single sound loud enough to wake anyone else on the floor. I restrained the intruder and left them secured inside the very shaft they had entered from, alive, unconscious, no longer a threat. Naya never woke. The second attempt came near dawn through the main corridor, disguised as a night shift medic, responding to an emergency call that had never actually been sent. I met them before they reached her door. "Wrong floor," I said. They reached for something in their coat. I reached faster. It ended just as quietly as the first, and I left this one secured inside a storage room down the hall, breathing, unconscious, and very much not where anyone would think to look before morning. Her door still had not opened. The third attempt nearly succeeded, because it did not come through a wall or a hidden shaft. It came through the front entrance, disguised as official house business, complete with proper credentials and 2 guards who used to work for her directly. "House matters," the lead visitor said smoothly. "Lady Van is expected at the pre-vote council within the hour. We are here to escort her." "She is resting," I answered. "I will wake her when the sun actually rises." "Step aside," one of the guards said, reaching toward me. I did not step aside. This attempt was different from the first 2, because this person knew I was coming and was already prepared to fight. It took longer, but it ended the same way, quiet enough that the station sensors barely registered anything unusual. I secured all 3 of them in the nearby security office before the first light of the station's artificial dawn began to spread through the corridor windows. Naya found me there at sunrise, standing outside her door with my hands scraped and sore, watching 3 restrained figures through the security feed on her wrist display. 3, she said quietly, staring at the screen. 3 hired blades from 3 different houses, in a single night, and not one of them harmed permanently. "They do not need to be harmed," I told her. "Alive, they can be questioned. Alive, their houses cannot deny sending them. A dead man cannot testify in front of the coalition. These 3 can, and they will." Something shifted in her expression, not quite gratitude, but recognition, as if she were truly seeing me for the first time, not as a tool pulled from a prison cell, but as something else entirely. "You could have simply removed them permanently," she said softly. "It would have been easier, safer for you." "Easier is not always right," I said, meeting her eyes. "I spent 3 years locked away because someone once decided easier mattered more than right. I refuse to become that same kind of person." She studied me for a long moment, the golden ring in her dark eyes catching the first real light of the station's morning cycle. "By the time the vote happens in 6 days," she finally said, "every house on this station will know that a forgotten human prisoner did what my entire personal guard could not." "Let them know," I said, leaning against the doorway, exhaustion finally catching up with me. "Let them send more if they wish. I have very little left to lose, Lady Van. That makes me the safest choice you will ever make." For the first time since she had walked into my cell, Naya Van smiled, small, tired, and completely real. "Then I suppose," she said quietly, "I chose well."